Most people think they know the Bahamas, but you are looking at one of the only places on Earth where humans are actually banned from living. While millions of tourists are fighting for space on a beach in Nassau or lounging at a resort in Exuma, there is a massive island sitting all by itself in the middle of the ocean that has stayed exactly the same for thousands of years. It is called Little Inagua, and it is the largest uninhabited island in the entire Caribbean. That means no hotels, no roads, no Starbucks, and absolutely no cell phone service. If you ended up here by mistake, you would be more alone than almost anywhere else on the planet. But why is this place kept so secret? And why does the government make it so hard to get there? In this video, we are going inside the forbidden zone of Little Inagua National Park. We are going to look at why this island is shaped like a giant lizard, how wild donkeys manage to survive on a desert island with no fresh water, and why scientists treat this place like a laboratory for the end of the world. By the time we finish, you will understand why this is the ultimate final boss destination for anyone who loves travel. Little Inagua is not just a small rock in the ocean. It is a massive 31,000-acre wilderness surrounded by another 31,000 acres of protected marine territory. To give you an idea of how big that is, imagine about 23,000 American football fields put together. Now imagine all of that land having 0 people on it. It is located about 5 miles northeast of its big brother, Great Inagua, which is already pretty remote. Because there are no roads or buildings, the only way to even see the island is by boat or plane. If you look at it from a satellite, it has this strange, long shape that looks exactly like a lizard crawling through the water. This island is basically a giant piece of limestone sticking out of the sea. Because it is surrounded by some of the most dangerous jagged reefs in the world, it has spent hundreds of years eating ships. There are dozens of historical shipwrecks sitting at the bottom of the ocean right off the coast. These reefs are so shallow and sharp that for centuries, sailors were terrified to go anywhere near it. That fear is actually what saved the island. Because no one could safely land a big ship there, no one ever built a town, and the forest never got cut down. It stayed a total no man's land, while the rest of the world was being paved over with concrete. Scientists are obsessed with Little Inagua because it is what they call a living laboratory. In most parts of the world, humans have messed things up by bringing in animals that don't belong there, like rats or cats, or by polluting the water. But because humans have never stayed on Little Inagua, the ecosystem is perfect. It is like a control group in a science experiment. If a scientist wants to know how a Caribbean island is supposed to look without human interference, they come here. One of the weirdest things about the island is the salt. Inside the island, there are these huge lakes called hypersaline ponds. This water is way saltier than the ocean. You might think nothing could live in water that salty, but it is actually the engine that runs the whole island. These ponds are filled with tiny brine shrimp and special algae. This is the food source for the most famous resident of the park, the West Indian flamingo. Without these weird salty lakes, the flamingos wouldn't have anything to eat and they wouldn't have their bright pink color. Another reason this island is special is how it handles big storms. The Bahamas gets hit by hurricanes all the time. On other islands, these storms destroy houses and cause massive floods because the natural plants have been removed. But on Little Inagua, the mangroves and the thick scrub brush have evolved to take a beating. After a massive Category 5 hurricane, the island looks like it was barely touched while other places are in ruins. It is teaching us how to build a world that can survive a changing climate just by letting nature do its thing. If you stepped off a boat onto the white sand of Little Inagua, you wouldn't be greeted by a tour guide. You would probably be greeted by a wild donkey. Now you might be wondering how on earth donkeys got to a deserted island in the middle of the Bahamas. The story goes back hundreds of years to when sailors would leave livestock on islands so they would have food if they ever got shipwrecked later. The people left, but the donkeys stayed. Over hundreds of years, these donkeys became completely wild. They figured out how to survive in a place with almost no fresh water, eating tough desert plants and living like kings in a place where they have no natural predators. But the real stars of the show are the flamingos. Little Inagua is one of the most important nesting grounds in the world for the West Indian flamingo. At certain times of the year, the island looks like it has been covered in a thick pink blanket. There are tens of thousands of them. They are very shy, so they love that there are no people around to bother them. Along with the flamingos, you have the roseate spoonbill, which looks like a flamingo but has a weird flat beak like a spoon. It is a birdwatcher's paradise, but you have to be willing to hike through thick bushes and mud to see them. Then there is the Inagua iguana. This thing looks like a tiny dinosaur. It is a rare lizard that you can only find in this part of the Bahamas. They can grow to be quite large and have these sharp, prehistoric looks, but they are mostly just hanging out on the rocks soaking up the sun. And we can't forget about the water. The beaches here are critical nesting spots for green sea turtles and hawksbill turtles. These turtles travel thousands of miles across the ocean just to come back to this specific island to lay their eggs because they know the beaches are safe and quiet. Here is the thing. As amazing as all of this sounds, there is a huge problem. You can't just buy a ticket to Little Inagua. There is no airport, there is no dock, there is no ferry. Most people who visit the Bahamas will never even see a picture of this place, let alone stand on its sand. The island is protected by the Bahamas National Trust, which means it is a crime to hurt the animals or take anything from the land. The challenge isn't just the rules, it's the environment itself. The island is covered in something called black coral and jagged limestone that can cut through your shoes like a knife. There are no trails. If you get lost, there is no one to find you. There are no freshwater springs, so if you don't bring enough water, you are in serious trouble within hours. The heat is intense, and the mosquitoes and no-see-ums are legendary. They will bite you until you want to jump back into the ocean. This isn't a place for a casual vacation. It is a place that actively tries to keep you away. So if it's so hard and dangerous, why would anyone go? The reason is simple: total solitude. We live in a world where someone is always trying to sell you something or text you. On Little Inagua, you can stand on a beach and realize that you are the only human being for 50 miles in any direction. That is a feeling you can't get almost anywhere else on Earth. It is a psychological reset. For scuba divers, the reason to go is the wall. Just off the coast, the ocean floor suddenly drops from about 40 feet deep to thousands of feet deep in a straight vertical line. Diving there feels like you are flying over the edge of the world. The water is so clear you can see for 100 feet. Because there is no fishing allowed, the fish aren't afraid of you. Huge groupers, sharks, and schools of colourful reef fish will swim right up to your mask. It is like swimming inside an aquarium that never ends. And then there is the sky. Because there are no city lights for hundreds of miles, the night sky on Little Inagua is mind-blowing. When the sun goes down, the Milky Way is so bright that it actually casts a shadow on the sand. You can see satellites, shooting stars, and planets with your bare eyes. It makes you realize how much of the universe we usually miss because of our streetlights and buildings. If you are brave enough to try and reach Little Inagua, you have a long journey ahead of you. First, you have to get to Great Inagua. Most people fly into a major city like Miami or Fort Lauderdale, or they fly into Nassau, the capital of the Bahamas. From there, you have to catch a smaller plane to Matthew Town on Great Inagua. This is a tiny town where everyone knows everyone, and the main industry is harvesting salt. Once you are in Matthew Town, the real work starts. You cannot go to Little Inagua alone. You have to find a local guide who has a boat sturdy enough to handle the 5-mile crossing. The water between the two islands can be incredibly rough, and the currents are strong. You also need to get a permit or at least notify the Bahamas National Trust if you are doing research or going with a group. You have to pack everything, and I mean everything. You need all your food, all your water, your own shade, and a way to take all your trash back with you. You leave nothing behind but footprints, and even those get washed away by the tide. Most people who make it to the park stay on their boat and just visit the shore during the day. Camping is extremely difficult because of the terrain and the bugs, but for the few who have done it, they say it's a life-changing experience. It is the ultimate test of your travel skills. If you can make it to Little Inagua, you can pretty much go anywhere. Little Inagua is a reminder of what the world looked like before we got here. It is a place where nature is still the boss and humans are just temporary visitors, It is beautiful, it is harsh, and it is completely pure. It is a piece of the planet that has stayed exactly as it was meant to be. If you ever get the chance to see it, take it. Just make sure you bring a lot of water and some very thick boots. If you want to see another hidden gem that most tourists never find, please subscribe to our channel for latest updates.